My name is Chris Koopmans. I'm with Citrix. I'm the VP and GM of the service provider team. Well, it's not that simple, and the reason is there's a couple things. There's physical limitations to how much capacity you can squeeze into a place, so especially sort of dense cities and things like that, you can only split the cell so many times, and there are physical limitations in the spectrum of how much you can actually get into a specific area. And then secondly is it's extremely expensive to put more and more capacity, and it's not always supported by the business case. So what operators have to do in order to manage all of this data growth, as you mentioned, is to add smart capacity and intelligence into their network so that they can actually measure the user experience, understand what's going on, and drive the best data efficiency and user experience that they can in that network. I think the just add capacity argument comes when you think of data just as data. Think about it as megabits per second or something along those lines, when in reality, data is a whole set of applications. It might be voice, it might be video, it might be web browsing, it might be email, and those services have different requirements, different latency requirements, different bandwidth requirements in order to achieve the desired user experience. And so what operators are doing is getting a lot smarter about understanding the applications that are being used on their network and delivering the best user experience without just add capacity, where the business model breaks down. Well, it would be nice if LTE were the end game, and now everything was great, and we all had the best mobile data connections possible. LTE is a huge advancement from the 3G networks that preceded it. Latencies have come down by an order of magnitude, bandwidth has gone up by an order of magnitude. However, the demands, right? I mean, it took us 5-6 years to move from 3G to LTE. The demands have gone astronomically since then as well. We now have loads of devices, whether we're talking about wearable computing and watches and smartphones, whether we're talking about Netflix streaming to the back seat of the car, iPads consuming content at rates that are growing much, much faster even than carriers are adding that bandwidth. And so, yes, the data has gotten a lot faster with LTE, but the expectations have grown even faster than carriers have been able to keep up. And we're already talking now about 5G. You know, the one good thing we have about technology is that, you know, we keep making advances and we keep making it. It'll get faster and it'll get higher bandwidth and it'll get cheaper. But, you know, consumers will find more unique ways of utilizing all of that and demanding more and more and more. Carriers are undergoing two simultaneous transformations right now. One is a business transformation from a telephone company that connected people together for communication purposes to a data services company that's delivering all of these different services over a data backbone. And so that business transformation requires them, as I mentioned earlier, to get much, much smarter about those data services. The other thing that has to happen is a network transformation, right? Instead of just having a giant circuit that connects the entire planet together, they now have an entirely different set of demands where one user talking for 5 minutes using a phone for 5 minutes can use 1,000 times or 10,000 times the amount of bandwidth that another user using their phone for 5 minutes. And so they have to architect their network differently. And so what network functions virtualization is trying to do is to help operators move into that new paradigm, separate out hardware from software, use off-the-shelf hardware, and put software in a much more elastic environment where it can scale out and very dynamically based on the demands of the users. But actually, I think the most important thing that NFV will do for the mobile industry and for the telecom industry in general is help foster innovation. There's a huge barrier to entry today for a company to say, I'm going to build some infrastructure for carriers. And when was the last startup we saw in the wireless base station business, for example? It's really hard. There's a huge amount of work that has to be done just to fit into the network. Forget about the value add that you're trying to provide. So if with NFV what we can do is create this ready environment where I can just drop software into a fully managed, fully orchestrated hardware software environment, and new companies can just focus on their value add, I think we'll start to see huge innovations. And that's really, when you talk about serving all of this web and video content, you got companies like Byte Mobile that started to help operators with this challenge. We could see 10 more startups in this space that could really create all kinds of new dynamic, unique ways to help operators capitalize on this opportunity, and the barrier to entry would be much, much lower, and you'll see a plethora of startups in that space. So Citrix is focused on really helping operators with these challenges, helping the entire industry move towards a mobile world, whether it's helping enterprises, consumers, or operators. We have loads of technology that can help cloud service providers and mobile and fixed operators move into the area of virtualization. Come to our website at www.citrix.com and find out more.